It's Bruce. How are you? Larry, how are you? I'm good. Lee, can I bother you for my glass? No, just a glass. I'll get it to you later. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, how are you? How is everybody? Hey, I'm sorry I missed you this weekend up in Boston. We were so busy. It was unbelievable.
How did it go? Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sorry I missed you
I
too, but it looked like it was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was great. Of course, there was like unexpected chaos. Rolling delays in the
Oh,
in the
yes.
3 people in the waiting room. I don't know how to let them in. How do I let them in? Admit, admit, and admit. Excellent. So there was like all these rolling delays, so I decided to stay over again. But
Okay.
yeah, staying over again didn't help much. There was a lot of, anxiety,
Huh.
traffic,
Yeah.
it was the thing. Yeah. I think it was the Mother's Day weekend too. There was just a
Oh,
lot of,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, heavy. Hey, everybody, how are you? It's so nice to see everybody today. I didn't know if there was going to be enough time for people to join, but I'm glad you're here.
Hi.
And hey, how are you, Lonnie?
All right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, Ram, how are you? You're
I'm
on
well,
mute.
and you?
There you are. Hi. And Larry is here, or sort of trying to get here. Is there someone else who's joining us? Hey, nice to see everybody. So I've been making now what I've been told is a scrolling minutes. It's sort of like a diary because the last meeting we didn't have a lot of attendance, but we had many open items during the month. So I made several phone calls to a number of people and I added them as needed to the minutes, and to the documents of what's going on with the PACE group. I hope that's okay with everyone. I know it's not the standard and traditional minutes, but I wanted to ask people here if you're okay with that, if I just report on what's been going on in the interval. Is that okay with you all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And I'll look for any advice or wisdom that anyone may have to pull in the reins a little bit so it looks a little bit more organized. But I know everybody's busy and sometimes you can't make a meeting like this. And so it's good to be able to be flexible, right? So I'm going to share some slides with everybody, I hope. I think I'll share some slides. I'll try to
Do you know
share
if
some.
Larry needs any help to get in? It looks like he's still
He's
connecting.
having trouble.
Yeah.
Can you see the slides I'm sharing right now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how to ask him should I ask him to try again or
I'll send him an email and see if he needs any help.
excellent. Excellent. And I know, let me write down everybody's who's here. I'm gonna go over to my Word document because I've been keeping track of those minutes, those rolling minutes in the Word document. And I will put everyone's name in there. Attendees on the 17th, we have Bruce, we have Rome, we have Lonnie, we have Larry, we have Kit, and we'll see what happens later. There, you saved that. Okay. And can you see the Word file as well on my
Oh, you made
screen?
it. It looks like Larry made it in.
Oh, excellent. Hi,
Yep.
Larry. Hi, Larry.
Hello.
How are
Okay.
you?
We were going
Hi.
to see if you needed rescue, but here you are.
No, it took me a minute when it showed up a screen and then it was asking me terms and condition changes or something. Because I think I
Yeah.
hadn't updated Zoom in a while, but
Okay.
it finally worked.
Excellent. I was just saying that I have a kind of an unconventional way of keeping minutes, and I hope it's okay with everyone because, like last time we met, we spent a lot of time talking about a few items, and then I had to track people down and try to talk to them and like deal with things one at a time. And I think that's all part of this pace thing that we're trying to do. So I'm hoping it's all right with people if I have a kind of a more of a diary, like a running minutes that we can all keep up on what's going on, if that's okay with you. Everyone else
Yeah.
here seems to be okay. That's all right with you? Good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'd rather it be recorded because then if somebody asks why we did what we did, we have the minutes, you can watch the video.
Excellent. And now we have this, can you see the Word document on the screen, or are you seeing
I
PowerPoint?
I see the Region 1 pace.
Okay, let me stop sharing and I'll share again, and we'll quickly look at the we'll quickly look at my minutes from the last time. We're starting a meeting. We started the meeting a couple of minutes late. I hope that's okay with everyone.
Yep.
Can you see that? Okay, so we started it, I think it was 05 or so, 04. Is that right? 7:35? Does that sound good to you?
Yep.
Okay. Begin 7:35 p.m. Okay, and we have Bruce, Ram, Lonnie, Larry, Kit. Okay, let's save this. And just to a little like review of what happened before, we have we've asked people to save the dates of the third Wednesday of each month, except during holidays or conferences, for our PACE kind of get together and check in with what's going on. And then in addition, we're hoping to have a meeting prior to each of the board meetings, just for any outstanding issues that can be included in a report that Greg can give to everyone. The next one should be next week, Thursday. So if you can't attend the Zoom, please just call me or send in a report. Anything that you want included in the report that's going to go to Greg for his Board of Governors meetings. Does that sound good to you guys? And then October 18th will be the last one before the final board meeting of the year. So this is the current committee that we have. I'm going to add, can I add the history people to this list? Can we have a motion to add some history people to our list of people who will keep informed about what we're doing? Bruce, what do you think? I can't hear you. You're
Sorry, yeah,
okay.
sorry. Sorry,
that all right?
you wanna change the committee, or you wanna include
No,
listeners, or they're gonna have votes, or what? I don't understand what
think-
you wanna do.
Good question. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that since we're kind of you'll see soon. Well, maybe we should talk about it later. What we're going to try to do is add some additional history initiatives to the region that will hopefully improve vitality and give us opportunities at every level, from STEM all the way up through YP and through industry connections and publications, and all the way into life members and beyond, you know. And so I'm hoping that by keeping connected with the history people in our region, we'll have some extra opportunity to gain their insight and wisdom for the work that we're doing, and that will keep them informed about other things that we have going on. Does
When
that
you say
sound reasonable?
history, do you mean the archive group or do you mean the historical society? What do you mean by the history?
We have two people in our region. We have Ram, who's here on the call today, and we have Ron Brown, who are both our history officers for the region.
Oh, I didn't know that was a position. Okay.
Yeah, it's way cool. So you'll learn a little bit about that. So I'm going to ask if everyone agrees that we can keep Ron and Ram informed about what we're doing, and ask them from time to time to come and give us some ideas about our vitality and other things that we can do with PACE. Yep, excellent, wonderful. So I'm going to just say that we are going to enhanced teaming with Region 1 history officers,
historians.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Region 1 historian.
Ron and Ram. Okay, great. So I don't know how to get rid of this blue thing. I'll get rid of that at some point. Not this minute. This is not going to happen at this moment, but it'll happen. Thank you. And can we have a agreement on this? Does this say, does anyone have an objection?
And are they
Okay.
voting on the committee or are they just
No,
here?
no, they're advising us
advisory?
and they're going,
Okay.
yeah, and keep helping us to keep some vitality, taking a look at, what we're actually trying to do across the region. What we're hoping is that with the Region 1 and Region 2 merger, that we'll actually be able to have some commonality by enhancing our efforts through history. So let me stop sharing this. I just want to remind everybody that we have proposals that are being reviewed by email. They're sent in by forms. And periodically we receive
And
these forms, and members on the team here are supposed to just review the forms. Like Larry, I think you've received a few, and Bruce has
I've actually
a few,
received
right?
none. So that's kind of the
Interesting.
thing I want to bring up. I was like, has anyone gotten anything? Because since the last one you forwarded
I
to me,
don't.
that was the very last one I've ever gotten.
Okay, so I will remember to forward things to you, and I'll send an email to Greg, letting him know that you're not receiving anything. Perhaps your email address might be different. I'm going to suggest that you
Yeah,
reach
I
out
mean,
to
I
Greg.
took care of fixing because I guess there was some problems on
Mhm,
things
mhm.
coming through. So I actually had to talk to Piscataway and they had me change my email from my billing address email to my
Right,
IEEE email.
yeah.
So I get everything now pretty consistently through my IEEE Gmail account, except for this. This is the only, as far as I know, I have received none of these requests.
Okay, I'm going to, Larry, I'm going to ask you if you would please send an email to Greg and remind
Yep.
him to double check your email. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. I'll take care of it.
Please let us know how that is and if you need me to hawk
Yeah,
it,
when I
stalk it.
when I send that email, I'll copy you on it to
Excellent.
make it obvious that something is still wrong with the form. I'm
Okay.
not getting
I think I did
notifications.
ask for a program to be funded under your topic. I can't remember which one it was. I think we all talked about it though, didn't we? I want to
There
say.
was one that I remember I did give you a reply saying, yes, I agree, we should fund that one.
Okay. So I think,
I
all
forgot
right.
which one it was, but I do remember you and me chatted and we did approval via email.
Okay, and then I think there was a request made to add a pull down window or checkbox to clarify whether something was PACE, we, YP, or
Yep,
EDU. And I
yep.
think the form has been totally renovated since then, so you might want to take a look at the form and see if it is meaningful to you now, okay?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I
Right.
think the key here is as long as the checkboxes line up with those that are approving it, right? I mean, there's a YP person approving YP stuff. There's a we person approving we stuff. There's
Right.
a PACE person approving PACE stuff. As long as those are the checkboxes, I think it'll make it very clear of who needs to sign off on what versus student activities. What is that? Is that
Exactly.
this?
Exactly. Okay, so the volunteer web people were solicited and you were going to check with YP members. Were you able to do
Yep.
that?
Yep, I
Okay.
had a meeting with the YP team
Mm-hmm.
of all the section members.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like 3 or 4 sections called into it. We
Mm-hmm.
explained how to use the stuff. Some of them, especially up in North New Hampshire, seemed excited about it.
Oh, that's good.
And we're planning to use it for one of their hikes.
Okay.
And they would submit money from us, and then they were going to submit additional from the YP Global. So it seemed like there was sections interested and were unaware of the funding capabilities that the region has now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that everybody here who's representing an area or a section will reach out to their area or section, because before we had so many people attending meetings that it was difficult to do, right? So now we're kind of like the voice in each of these areas. And I'm hoping that that will be helpful and it will be more expeditious for things to get done, you know? I'm just really happy that I have a chance to make these phone calls when other things have to be done in between, because I don't work during the day, so it's helpful to be able to bird dog things. Okay, so we're just reminding ourselves of the finances that are available. It's actually $750. But each section can have no more than one PACE grant, one YP or and one EDU, but the EDU has a much smaller budget. So those are 3,000 for the year for the whole state. I mean, for the whole region. And
There
so,
was one question that came up when I was presenting this about
sure.
that, and it was
Mhm.
specifically if they get approved before the event happens, are they guaranteed the money that was pre-approved?
Okay, so I think we all know the world is not guaranteed, but what happens is when you get the approval, that means that you have to produce the report and the receipts and the degree to which the section provides funding, you can get up to that amount as matched.
Right, but the question they're worried about is if their event is in October and they
Yes,
apply today
yes,
and then they give the receipts in October,
right.
there is no chance the region will say, oh, we already gave away your money because somebody else had an event sooner than
That's an
October.
excellent question. It's very difficult for, all these moving parts, believe it or not, to keep track of what you're talking about. And so we're looking for someone who would be willing to volunteer as a treasurer just for the pace to keep track of all of those. What's the commitment? And it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal, but it turns out it's not easy. What's the commitment? Which budget is it coming from? And how are we running in terms of um,
Yeah,
payments, payouts?
I
Yeah,
I
that's
would
not
think
easy.
that's a yeah, I would think that's a good idea. I mean, I could see
It's
it being as simple
necessary.
as an Excel sheet that says at the beginning of this calendar year, we had X number of dollars. We've committed
Okay.
8 projects, and these 8 projects brought that budget down to this. So I
All
mean,
right.
if that's something we want to track, do we have a location where I can make like a shared Excel sheet?
Let me share this thing with you. Here's the shared Excel. Here's the Excel sheet. Okay. Can you see
Oh,
it?
beautiful. Yep.
All right. So there is an Excel sheet. Even with this, it's not a fall off a lot. All right. Because people are confused. And when they're confused, they put strange information into each of the fields, which gets,
Who,
reproduced into the
who's
spreadsheet.
who's
People who
populating the
fill out,
spreadsheet?
so this comes automatically from the form.
Oh, no, I'm thinking this is
So
something just us 4 people or 5 people need to do, not something related to the form.
yeah. So just the 4 or 5 of us need to look at this and see what people are actually inputting into. Everyone else is sworn to secrecy, right?
Yeah.
Because this is all confidential information. But some people, like I think the Long Island branch, Lonnie is from the Long Island branch, they're doing a lot of exciting and wonderful things, but they can't continue to apply. And when we've asked, when we've tried to give that kind of guidance, it's not necessarily easy to understand, right? So people continue to submit grant proposals, thinking they can just submit grant proposals. People in Maine submitted a grant proposal. Bruce and Greg and I dealt with that today, right? So you can see that's the item number 1 on the top of the list there.
Mm.
And that one is not going to get approved. It's already been rejected. I didn't send that email out to reject the grant, but I got the advice of the team of why it shouldn't be approved. I'm not going to make a, unilateral decision about what's approved and what's not approved. I'm trying as best I can to follow the rules. And as you know, sometimes later in the year, things come up that are compelling and it's possible money will be available at the end of the year. You just don't know. So saying the money is going to go away, we're going to try not to make that kind of mistake. If somebody's been committed to doing it, a thing, and we've said, yes, we'll support it, we're going to do the best we can to make sure we are on top of this,
Do you
right,
want
Larry?
me to take that
Yep.
task on
I
of
would really,
making a
I would
tracking?
appreciate it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually asked Bill today again if he could recommend someone who would be a good,
'Cause
treasurer for these
yeah.
activities.
Yeah, I
So
mean, what
yeah,
I
if
can
you
do
can
is
help with that.
I can track and then I can make sure it's shared with Bill and everyone here. I can make a shared Excel sheet that's editable by us on the team, and I
Thank
can
you.
populate it, with I'll just need to know what have we already committed to so I can populate correctly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then
And
I'll
I'm
have the
very
3
thankful
columns.
for you to volunteer this. Let me just put this on. Is it, I want to just run it by the team here. Does anyone have any objection for Larry helping us with the treasury responsibilities? Does anyone have an objection? Bruce, what do you think?
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. No, I don't mind tracking the dollars to make sure we don't overcommit.
Excellent. And also just to keep me up to date of what's going on, right?
Oh
'Cause
yeah, exactly. And
people
the
come-
key
yeah.
is I'll make sure on my list only represents things that we have approved, that we have a committed max
Yeah.
dollar amount against, right?
And we also, we provide guidance to people like Lonnie is here today, and you know, her team is very enthusiastic and new at this, and you know, it's sometimes puzzling why some things might get approved and others not. And so we want to just make sure everyone understands what we're doing, right?
Yep. Nope, sounds good.
Transparency. All right, so let me stop sharing this. You and I will get on that. Let me put it in minutes so we can
Yeah,
have
yes, put a note so that way I know it's on my to-do list.
Okay, so where's the minutes? There's the meeting agenda. That's the minutes. Let's see. Okay, so we have now, I'm going to go back up a little bit higher. Where's the, what's going on here? Okay, there it is. All right. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to say that we now have a new treasurer for PACE is Larry, right?
Yep.
Excellent. All right, we have that done. And I'm going to now go over to this lovely slideshow, which is going to make your head spin. You're going to love it, okay? I'm going to stop sharing this one, and we're going to go to, where are we now? Screen share. The one that you first saw when you first arrived. So you remember these lovely pictures from the meeting in New York? A couple of people were at New York, remember? I see Bruce there. All right. So, and Ram is here to help me explain. Okay, this is a great event that just took place over in Berkshire. We funded this activity. This was a student competition. They've been doing it for 35 years. It costs a lot of money. The group only has, I think, 400 members in the section. They're pretty far away from Boston, so it's not easy for them to like schlep over to Boston and have a meeting. But they have a group of schools they reach out to every year, and then they have a student competition for composition. It's very hard to get people to review the compositions, which is one of the reasons, one of the bottlenecks of having this kind of activity. But I think really this is one of our really iconic, wonderful kinds of opportunities to have a competition among high school students that could also connect to university and YP. And then we can check to see many years later, perhaps, where are they now? You know, it would be really nice to keep track of these people, you know? So anyway, just a thought, putting it out there. Anybody have any ideas? What do you think? These are the top schools in the area, you know? These are schools that are feeder schools for the top schools in the area. So it would be, you know, really nice if we could expand this program, maybe do it on a larger scale, find some good people who would be willing to volunteer time and do, you know, evaluation of more papers that students would. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know so we can look into that. And this is the
Who put
region
this
one and
together?
region.
Who put that together? I
Who
mean,
put
that event.
that was McVeigh, Jim
Okay.
McVeigh.
So maybe we could like propagate it to other areas in region 1.
That's what I'd like to see us do. I think that's something we could do if we could find a couple of willing volunteers who could learn from Jim McVeigh, Dr. McVeigh, how he did it, and you know, any of the history, if we want to write a little article about him for our upcoming history newsletter that might be featured in the history website on our region website. What do you think, Ram? You know?
That sounds good.
Yeah, because 35 years is quite a nice tradition, and those schools are really a nice tradition. That region, that section doesn't have a lot of stuff going on right now. They're basically a Superfund site for GE that used to be located there, you know, and that's very sad. It's sad to lose that kind of history, you know. So, but if we could regroup and find some other purpose that would be really nice. So here is our new initiative in region history. Let me see if I can move this control. How do we get this out of here? Okay, there. Connecting with milestones, capturing voices or oral histories, women in region history, and humanitarian technology history. The people, the timeline. Do you like it? What do you think? So the idea is that maybe later in the year, we'll have a kickoff down here at Middletown at the AT&T History Museum, which is a primarily communications museum, but it has more than just communications, as most museums tend to. And we're promoting a milestone for the horn antenna where the Big Bang Theory was discovered, right? So it was Telstar, it was Echo, Project Echo, Telstar, and also the background radiation for the discovery of the origins of the universe, which is also known as the Big Bang Theory. So we're hoping to have an event around that, invite people, and sort of have a kickoff of how we can increase awareness of milestones and awareness of our history within this region, especially as we merge with Region 2, because it's going to be a nice opportunity to share stories of people and places and things. And at the same time, if we begin to roll back into our story, the people who've been lost, like women or humanitarian technologists over the years. But there are so many really excellent milestones in our region. It would be nice to bring them to life instead of just leaving them on the pages of the wiki. It would be really nice to bring them to life in our events, in our activities, in our meetings, and so forth. So what Ram and Ron are going to attempt to do is to have a newsletter that's periodically featured both online in our region and also through the other publications that are available from IEEE, for example, the History Center newsletter. And for example, communications, ComSoc has a history committee, which I'm part of. I'm a vice chair there. And we also publish things in the communications magazine on history. And so it would be nice to take advantage of that opportunity to engage members and to have increased vitality and to share these stories. One very important way that we can keep people engaged is by gathering oral histories. In other words, doing an interview with people who have had experiences in engineering in our region. And through the IEEE Communication Society, I was able to get a commitment from that society to give us some funding to do a few oral histories this year, because it costs about $600 to transcribe those oral histories, and also to launch some new milestones that relate to diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion plus. So if we have any ideas anywhere around the region about how to bring more milestones that emphasize these new ways of looking at our region, that would be really great. Let me see if I can go to the next page. So the aims are to increase student members transitioning to membership. So that's how that, the competition and emphasis on STEM up to university, et cetera. And then to promote DEAI plus, and then recognize advancing technology for humanity. In other words, bring in the humanitarian portions of our legacies. So the next steps would be the upcoming History Center newsletter is June 2nd deadline. So we're hoping to announce this initiative by then. And we'll link to the Region 1 History Wiki, which it's already there. And then write an article for ComSoc, and then outreach to areas and sections across Region 1. And hopefully when Region 2 joins us, we'll already have this plan in place. And then to try to estimate, well, Ram is going to work on simplifying the history process, right, Ram?
That's correct.
Because right now, if you look at some of these pages and instructions and forms, you want to rip your eyelashes out and never think about it again. It's just distressing.
having been through that for one of our milestones, I know it can be quite daunting.
Yes, and so we want to make it easy for people. So we want to be like mentors to help people want to get involved with this, not throw a bunch of crazy, horrible things, barriers in their way. And then we want to estimate like what a startup effort might look like, how much might be needed, how much effort in terms of people involved and funding and so forth, and how we might schedule it out. And solicit members and a historian to contribute to the to women in region history, humanitarian technologies, and other candidates. In other words, nominate people. So maybe we could put a Google mailing together, a Google form emailing together around the region, and ask people to nominate candidates that they think would be deserving of being on our timeline, or having a bio or a milestone. And then we want to partner with the societies that are prominent in our region, and then outreach to industry. So ask industry to tell us who are the women in their companies that they want to honor, or the history of the milestones that they want to honor. And I see that, like, to me, it would be really nice to have, if we have a conference, then we might have a room that has a name of an important milestone by a woman, for example,
Yeah.
and then we can have the,
Kit,
yeah.
IEEE milestones talk about the invention, and they don't
Yes.
talk about the inventor.
Right,
Unless
but
you go
what
to the-
we've gotten permission to do exactly this, and I'll show you where the documents come from. So here is the lady at the History Center who teaches people how to do oral histories. This is Marianne Hellriegel. We can bring her in and have her give a little talk to tell people how to do the interviews. And this is an example of one of the things we're working on right now, which is there's a lady on the far right. Can you see her? Anita Longley. So Anita Longley was instrumental in the Longley-Rice terrestrial model for radio propagation. And she did her work out in Denver. And so we're helping the people in the Denver section. This is in the Comstock History Committee. We're helping them to have a milestone around the Longley-Rice terrestrial model. And even though it's not really about the woman, it's her achievement. So we know we can trace back that this particular achievement definitely involved a woman's achievement. And so that's how we managed to elevate awareness of work that's been done by women. And then the gentleman next to her picture up in the upper right-hand corner, that is Dale Hatfield, who was the head of, I think it's FTC for a long time, no, FCC in Washington. And he also worked in Denver with her and Rice. So he gave his oral history. I think he's 84 now or 83. I can't remember. But he gave his oral history recently. So that's one of the very first oral histories that we've done. Like a person who worked with the person, who can attest to this person's work and so forth, and also has achievements of their own, as well as this milestone that represents DEAI+. I think everyone will like this. And then the one below it is the one we're doing down here in Homedale, which is Project Echo, and the horn antenna involving Telstar Project Echo and the Big Bang. So does everyone recognize that? Those guys over in the right-hand corner? Yes? I
Yeah,
thought so. Okay, so that's where we're hoping to kick this off. These are the people that we found around our region that may be under-recognized. Some of the milestones that are right here in our region that others may not be aware of. And so we want to try to raise awareness by making a timeline, by bringing people's attention to that timeline, and adding in some people who might have been forgotten. Like there's Patricia Bath, who invented the laser surgery that helps people deal with cataracts. About 6 million people a year have their sight improved from what she invented. And then next to that is Virginia Apgar. So I think many of these people we know about, but we haven't really placed them in our IEEE viewfinder, And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a thing like that a little bit more effectively. This is what the museum looks like down here in Homedale, or Middletown rather. They have one of the original phones by Alexander Graham Bell. They have some wonderful Theseus mouse, which is like AI, and we're hoping that we can get soon to come down here with his micro mouse and perhaps kick off a new version of humanitarian types of programs having to do with the micro mouse, and Theseus Jr., which is based on Shannon's theories and robotics. So then, of course, this is hopefully we'll celebrate this milestone there. And this is a STEM activity that also involves some inventions having to do with people who represent a diverse group of people. This is Jim West, who worked at Bell Labs with us, and his invention is the electric microphone. And the United States Patent and Trademark Office has turned that into a kit for training students. Of course, these are more expensive kits than the ones we have at Tri Engineering. So we'd like to try to promote kits from Tri Engineering because they're free and they can be used anywhere in the world, free from IEEE. But this one happens to be one that's close to my heart, so we went for this one. And I hope people will come down and participate in this activity. So we want to make the archive of women's history, connect to content that's online with bios. Ron, what do you think? Is this a good idea?
Yep.
Okay. And then here's the humanitarian technology history. So we'll make another timeline and a list of milestones and bios and even awards like Steinmetz. There's an award for Steinmetz, but there's no milestone or
Yeah,
other.
that I know. He did so much work, and he literally started the GE research labs.
And he's a disabled person. So if we can somehow put him back on the timeline because there's an award named after him, we don't have to wait to put him on the timeline by coming up with, a milestone or an oral history or any
Yeah,
other
because
thing.
he did a lot of his work in Lynn, Massachusetts.
So it's Region 1, which is really excellent. And now here are some other people that we may be very familiar with, but who aren't on our timelines, and it would be really great to include them on our, on our timelines. Kate Gleason, which anybody who's been to Rochester must know about, right? And
Yeah,
Ursula
Gleason
Burns.
works. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ursula
Xerox.
Burns also Rochester.
Yep.
Xerox.
And Emily Roebling,
Yeah,
and
she Brooklyn Bridge.
yes, and this nice lady from my hometown, upstate New York, and Patricia Bath and Virginia Apgar and Emily Noether.
Yeah,
And
Emily Noether.
yes, Noether. And here we have Clara Barton, who is not only the person who founded the American Red Cross, but she also worked at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and received a professional salary, just like men back in those days. So, it's really quite important for us to reclaim these people into our timeline. Here is a person who's not from our region, but who fills into that category of humanitarian, Sister Elizabeth Kenny, who invented rehabilitation types of things. She helped during the pandemic of polio and came up with like revolutionary ways of dealing with rehabilitation. And she was among 2 people who had ever had permission to enter the country without a visa or passport. One was somebody who trained the Revolutionary soldiers, and she was the other. And I mean, these kinds of people really should be regarded because these are the fields that are important to IEEE. So this is some of the stuff we've done down here, as you know, and this is some of the materials that are available online for outreach for STEM activities. We have Tri Engineering, very, very excellent resources there. We're going to try to make a landing page that's just about humanitarian technologies out of Tri Engineering. So there'll be a page, it'll tell you about the SDGs, and it'll tell you about like what a humanitarian technology is all about. And then the lessons that are related to those humanitarian technologies will be listed on that specific page. You'll be able to link to them. And there's other content all around the IEEE's websites that we can link to by like curating content that relates to these topics. And this is an example of some things that are going on in the history, the IEEE TV about history that we can link to that are really incredibly well curated materials. Getting back to Anita Longley, just a little bit more detail. I can share with you all the detail if you want, but that's this whole story. Any other questions?
That's really good stuff. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Ram, do you have any, are you inspired? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think these are great ideas. I mean, lots of work.
Yeah, I think it's a good project for the whole region.
Yep.
If people are looking for something to do, you know, life members or students or anybody who, you know, might be looking to add vitality or who's always wondered, why isn't that lady on our website? You know? Or why isn't that person who's my hero on our website? I think it gives us options.
See, Kit, IEEE, including IRE,
Hmm.
150 years old, and we only have about 340 or so milestones. And a lot of inventors are underrepresented. I mean, if you take New Jersey alone,
Hmm.
you have, we had Bell Labs and RCA. I mean, there are a lot of inventions over there that are deserving of milestones. And part of the problem, as you mentioned earlier, is just going through that process. Unless it's simplified, people get scared of looking at that process because it took us about 2 years to get a milestone for the digital camera in Rochester.
It's
And
it's really annoying. It's frustrating. The like the form itself just makes you want to give up, you know? And it's not like the people aren't helpful. They're very helpful, but they keep telling you to read read the information. And not a lot of people have that level of endurance. It's really an endurance race
yeah,
to get
you
these.
need a lot of intestinal fortitude just to go through that process.
Yeah, so if we go to the Region 1 website, you see the historians here, Ron and Ram. And then here you can see the history. You find the history here. And in the history, if you scroll down, where is the, oh, this is History Wiki there. I can almost not see it because it's so faintly blue. But what we added recently, this is a really great website, by the way. There's a lot of important information. If your section, if your area and your sections haven't been updated, please go to this website and add your officers into. So see here, each of the sections are here. The Berkshire section and all those, they're all in here. And
For
if
some of the sections, including ours, I mean, the officers are, they're 10 years old.
yeah, this is 2008. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
so it would be nice if each of the area people could go into their area and look at their chapters, I mean, sorry, their sections and updated these things.
I think
Now,
one way to do that probably
mhm.
would be talk to the various area chairs.
Well,
And
that's who's on this call right now. We have area chairs here. We have Bruce, who's the area chair of
yeah,
Boston. Yeah,
we don't have,
right. We need
Joe
more.
Hart.
Yeah, we need everybody.
Yeah,
So if we scroll down here, what we see is what we just added here, which is all the milestones in Region 1. Can you see the milestones here? And if I make it by date, let me make it by date, year of achievement. So starting at 1838 and working our way down, you can see the milestones that are here. And the most recent one, New Jersey coast, transatlantic fiber
the
optic signal.
digital camera isn't there.
This is, so the most recent achieved, that was processed, the most recent that was processed, you can see is 2022. So there were a few, during the pandemic, it was very difficult to do any of these things. But now that the pandemic is, things are starting to open up again, it would be nice to get back and into the milestone game. And here we have suggested milestones, so we don't even have to think about them. There's a bunch here on the list. A lot of them, see Holyoke, Mass, Boston. There's a lot of stuff in Boston here. What do you think, Bruce? Some stuff up there in Boston?
So,
There might be
we
something.
have, we have Dale Cook. I know he is working on a couple items, but I don't know which ones are the current
Okay.
ones.
So then here
But
we
the
put in.
other,
Yeah, go ahead, say, what, Bruce, go ahead, I'm
No,
sorry.
no, back to you.
No, I talk too much. I'm trying not to make everyone fall asleep, but sometimes it's a backlash here. So here we have women's achievements, right? So there's a list here in case these didn't occur to you and you're thinking about doing something that's going to help raise awareness of women's achievements. And one thing I'm thinking maybe we could do down here in our area is wavelets, right? I mean, that would be kind of cool, right? Or the holographic video system, or prediction of band structures of carbon nanotubes. I mean, there must be somebody interested in that at MIT. What do you think, Bruce?
Well, people are interested, but not, I was going to say that the challenge is inspiring historians. So thank
Right.
you to Ram
Okay.
and Ron and Gil.
Yeah.
You see, in order to get a milestone through, there have to be champions for that particular milestone who'll stick with it. Because the procedure there, I mean, I'll go through it with a flow chart sometime soon because I'm working on it. Because there's a procedure that has to be followed, and try to simplify it, including even getting permission of the owner of that particular property at that time to allow that milestone to be placed. And that is assuming that the section and that deals with that milestone is going to pony up the money for these plaques. And so there are a few, I wouldn't call them hurdles. I would say when I spoke to Bala, there's no shortage of money for these plaques. We just have to find it.
Right. And it's a logistical thing, people have to know it's a possibility. They have to know that there is a source of the money, that they have, that someone can help. I think being able to, like Larry, now that you're here as a treasurer, what would be nice is if we could keep track of ways to help people to fund the things they want to do, even if it's not just a direct PACE grant,
Yep. Oh, and I've already shared, while you were talking, I built the Excel spreadsheet and started adding people to it for shared ownership. So it should be in your guys' emails. I did the one thing, actually, this is maybe a good quick time to verify. What was the amount available for the PACE, the YP, and the students? How many dollars did we have under each category at the beginning of the year?
So there's always, it depends on whether you ask Greg or whether you ask Bill, okay?
Yeah. Oh, whichever the more stringent number is, we'll start there.
I mean, these are the things that keep me awake at night, because I think, oh, we have enough, and then someone says to me, no, who's told you that?
Oh, geez.
Right. So, yeah. So the interesting thing is that PACE has funding, we and YP have funding together, right? So you can only
Yep,
get one or
yep.
the other.
Right.
And that amount is the same as PACE. And then there's the 3,000 for EDU. So the amount that's for PACE and we, the YP and we versus PACE is the same amount, but there's a debate about how much that is.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Right. So, so we have to have a very strong constitution to deal with that.
Okay. What number should I start by putting into our available budget?
I would say 8,000 for each one of those categories, and I wouldn't budge from there until we know what else is going on. All right.
Yep.
And
no, and
that's not
actually,
a lot.
and that works out good because I'm tracking also a committed number and then an actual number. So if we commit to up to 750, I'll track that. But then I'll also track when we know, even though we said you could have 750, but you only collected 400, I want to track that number too.
And we have 22 sections in the region, so we have to be really careful about how we make it look like, we should be thoughtful about everybody,
Now we are merging region 1 and 2.
Right, but then they come with their own budget as well, right? So whoever they are, they must have a budget.
Yeah, but what I found out is both Ron and I are the only historians for Region 1 and Region 2. Region 2 does not have a historian.
Interesting. Well,
That's
maybe we
what
can,
Greg told me. I mean,
well, maybe there'll be some opportunity there. I'm gonna stop sharing. Is there anything left that people would like to talk about or ask questions or?
I
mm,
think the only thing I need to finish populating this tracking sheet
mhm.
is do we have maybe meeting minutes or something that says what we committed to on the earlier 1 or 2 meetings we had, just so I can backfill the sheet with
So
the
anything
what
that
we
was
did.
committed on earlier is already updated in that spreadsheet, I think, I hope.
And it has
So,
the dollar amount we committed there. Okay.
the dollar amount that's requested is always going to change to what's going to be distributed, because if people turn up with receipts that are less than what we committed to, they don't get the full amount. They get what
Right.
they,
And yeah, and that's and I mean I think that's fine for us backfilling the history, because if we've already written a check, I guess I only need to track that. I don't need to track what we promised.
correct,
It's more the
right.
ones that, have we made any promises in the last 3 months that we haven't written the check for? Those are the, I
Right.
just, if
I
that's on the
don't,
tracking sheet, then that's fine.
I think that we don't have any state like that, any condition like that. I think what we have more of is things that fall through the cracks. That,
Okay.
people have asked for money and they put in, like you said, they thought it was this category or it was student activity, or then they look at PACE because they know they're asking PACE, but it's not really PACE, it's WE or YP or something, right?
Yeah.
So when things slide around like that, it becomes challenging.
Yeah. And do I have access to that spreadsheet you had up on the screen?
I will send that to you. I will
Okay,
send that to you.
perfect.
I have to talk to Greg. I'll double check with Greg and then I'll send it to you, but you're gonna be, this is a confidential spreadsheet. This is not something
Yeah.
that we share with others, So
Yeah,
I'll
it'll
talk
be
to,
just for me to populate this and then remove it from
yeah,
my possession.
yeah. I mean, you understand that. And then,
Yep.
so and then of course, Lonnie, do you have any questions about, you and Sandy spoke after we spoke about the last spreadsheet that you submitted, right, Lonnie?
Yeah, that should be fine, but what I was wondering is the timeline. When when are you gonna like publish the timeline? Because I was thinking of looking into some local Long Island women in milestones.
Oh, well, good question. That's a really good question. So, you know how those tables that we just showed you up in
Yeah.
the, right. So we want to just start with a table and then we'll just keep putting them in order. You can
But you
click
don't
on
have
the
a time.
icon.
I mean, you don't have a time frame
It's a
when you're gonna
it's a timeline like that. We're gonna build a, round.
ongoing. You're
Yeah,
saying. Okay.
exactly. We'll just keep adding items. So, if you have time, if you can help us make a Google Doc that we can send out to everybody every once in a while and ask for their suggestions, that would be really great, and we'll make a
Okay.
form that has all those things that we want to say about each woman
Yes.
or each humanitarian. And so if you want to help with that, Ram, is that all right with you?
yep.
Okay, great. And then we can, make a form if people have a bio already, if there's a Wikipedia bio or something else that we could point to, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, because that gets it started. That's just like a stake in the ground. To put the
Okay.
people, a stake in the ground. Bruce, do you have any suggestions about any of these activities? He disappeared. There he is. Okay.
Yes.
What do you think?
I'm sorry, what? No, I heard the question, but I'm not sure what kind of feedback are you looking for?
So do you know of a resource that already exists that we should make sure we incorporate when we're trying to build this timeline? Or people that you might suggest for the women, DEIA, humanitarians, that kind of thing? Do you have like a short list of
Well,
people?
I think the two thoughts I have is I'm sure there's many more. So I think the real question is not, I don't really feel like from me. I think the question is, how do we find out from others?
Correct.
And the other part of that question is, I think we already spoke about the strength of our historians, so thank you. But I think the other part is explaining the story. So we have, again, our historians, and you include you in this category, Kat, are good, put thoughtful writing into play. But if we want to, increase our capacity, then we're also going to need to seek out writers and
Exactly.
promotion. So I think it's admirable, but I guess I'm be looking towards yourselves as to how do we make it, how do we get more lift?
Yeah, what should it look like? I mean, the Wikipedia format is not very satisfying sometimes, because we'd like to see pictures and videos and things like that. But we could make a bio page that links to videos and things that other, content that's elsewhere, right? So
I guess the other comment I'll have is I think, strategy, right? So I think one strategy, the one we have now, is a good one, is keep taking action, right? Keep doing this, sort of setting up the foundation. And then, but I think more could be done, but how to do it, right? So that, I don't know what the answer to that is. So maybe either ask some more questions or try to see what happens. What else are people getting interested in? And then third, so that's third thing. The second thing, third thing would be, as the foundation is increasing, sort of keep your awareness open, because maybe an opportunity will come forward.
Well, I'm kind of thinking of this problem in reverse. So we have a lot of milestones, but we don't have champions to make them happen. Let's think about this in reverse. What champions do we have, and what are they interested in? In other words, who's got the time and the desire to do something like this that maybe doesn't know that this is one of the tasks to do? And that's who you got to inspire. It's not the, hey, I've got this milestone about Clara Barton. Now let's find somebody that cares about Clara Barton. Maybe go the other way and say, okay, who's sitting in the section that might want to take on a task like this? And then let them tell us what milestones they're interested in. Because if you go that other way.
An opinion here. Actually, life members are appropriate for doing some of these milestones. That's what we did in our section, basically, because many of us, have the time to devote to this because we don't have full-time jobs. Not all of us do, who are life members. And then it's an interesting task for life members to get them engaged into the association, because a lot of times I find, and particularly in our section, that you don't see life members often.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And not only that, but I think it's a way to get to know more about IEEE if you volunteer for one of these history things, because IEEE is like a different thing to each person until you've had a project like this where you've had to reach out or share information. And I think that's when you begin to get a sense of what the whole IEEE is. It gives you a little bit more of a broad perspective of how many people have done these kinds of things and who they are. I think we're really very lucky that we're in Region 1 and Region 2 is merging with us, because at this moment of the merger, we overlap with a region of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which is a very synergistic kind of notion, cognitively or structurally or organizationally, in terms of industry, in terms of topics that are relevant to us, in terms of, schools and industry and, people, the inventors themselves, and what inventing is all about. And so I think as we begin to build this timeline of both the history and the milestones, as well as, the people and the milestones, as well as the bringing back into our vocabulary these humanitarian people, we'll start to recognize how important these inventions are and what companies have this tradition. And I think that's going to be a very big plus for vitality across the two regions that as we merge. What do you think?
Yeah. And actually, when you showed me that wiki, I didn't know it existed. And I'm pretty confident there's a lot of stuff I know just from my personal time at Worcester County over the last 30 years that none of that's documented there about what's been going on at Worcester County. You know, who ran the show? How long did they run the show? What kind of things did we do when we were, when those leaders were running the show in Worcester County? I mean, I know I can go back at least 30 years in the history and it's not there. And I'm sure there's plenty of other guys that are still active in Worcester County that can probably go back 40 or 50 years in the history.
And that's a
That
common thing across all of these wonderful resources we have at IEEE, like IEEE TV or these wonderful YouTube videos that people are developing. There are like maybe 6 people who've watched them or downloaded them. So if we get in the habit of incorporating them into our meetings, into our activities, into our vocabulary, I think there'll be a lot more enrichment in people's lives by bringing them to this content, and
Yeah.
updating the content, keeping
Yeah,
it fresh.
no, I mean, now, I have access at the region level to email YPs. I don't have access to, maybe even at my section level to hit the whole section. But I'm trying to think of like, people need to know that even that history wiki exists for the mere fact of, hey, if you know some history, go populate it. Because I mean, that's
Exactly.
the beauty of the wiki of, no one person is in control. Everybody can populate it.
Do you have a section or Bruce, are you a section leader also? Are you a member of your section?
I have a role for education and professional education. But I think if we want to do outreach, the 2 things might come to mind. One is preparing what's the message, and then, who's the audience. So if we know who we're trying to reach, there's going to be a way to do it. But I think, it takes initiative to determine what to send and who to send it to.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I think we got a clear message here of, if you know a personal history of any part of IEEE in Region 1, go to this wiki and write your part of the history. And I mean, I think that's the clear message we want to do. And we want to hit as many people that know as many different things, because, there might have been the guy that was here 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He was running the show for 10 years and backed out, but he knows what happened that 10 years and he can write about that. And he
Well,
might want
that's
to write about it.
really the wonderful thing about oral histories is to capture people's voices. I've been doing this thing with Victor, my boss. We call it, I call it visits with Victor, because people are willing to talk to a peer or a colleague about their stuff. It doesn't sound so much like boasting, right? It doesn't sound like a lot of people who've done some really way cool things. They're modest about what they've done, and it's not easy for them to talk about it. But if you're talking to somebody like Victor, who you admire, you might be willing to talk about it. So this is one of the things we put together in our I started this in our New Jersey coast section, putting some of these humanitarian people in a list, just people that came up to the top of my mind. And then I realized this is bigger than just our section. This is something that should be a thing, is having these, since we advance technology for humanity, and I'm on the Humanitarian Technology Board, maybe it's time to have a real humanitarian timeline, but we can begin it by incubating it in our region, looking
Yeah.
across the region and getting some big ideas and then sharing it with people outside of our region to make it more meaningful across the globe. So, because a lot of people want to do good things, they get involved with engineering because they want to make a difference in people's lives, and to be able to provide some content, inspiration, mentoring around that, I think it's a really great opportunity that we have. And let's see. Oh yeah, the heritage people. Let's see, what else did we do? So we went to Thomas Edison's house in the national park. Of course, we have this transistor water tower monument nearby, the 75th anniversary of the transistor. We recorded. We recently closed down an entire Bell Lab section. A building over here at Crawford Hill, which was a place that many, many, many innovations took place there. And we had started out several years ago talking about celebrating our history and inspiring our future, inspiring people for the future. That's sort of the first approach that we took about history. And we did two new milestones. One of them was Project Diana, which is the earthbound, radar off the moon. And then the other one we did was the Nutridyne circuit. And I didn't choose the Nutridyne circuit. That wasn't something I chose. I didn't choose the Diana project either. But I volunteered and I got so involved that I became enthusiastic about those things during that process, And so I'm here to say that you don't have to be the one to be most passionate initially about a topic to make a successful history project, So let's see what else we have. We have histories of people and, things you find almost anywhere. I have videos on here, the roundtable discussion, Women's History Month. We have a lot of inventing, about patents. I share pictures all the time so people get to see themselves and their friends. I asked Nathan from headquarters to create a milestone table that included Regions 1 and Region 2 together, because soon these are going to be one region. And on our section website, I have both regions here. So if people want to cheat ahead of time and look at both regions milestones, this is a place where you can find them. But right now, Region 1, the table only has Region 1 milestones in it. And we'll have to, again, go in there and update it when the regions merge. But you can see there's a lot, this is a nice way to get an overview of Region 1 and Region 2 of what's going on. And hopefully I'll create some more tables like this. And with your help, we can start adding the women, diverse people, the humanitarian people to a table, which will then, we can, do whatever we want to with that content, make beautiful things, make websites that are, social media. We celebrate some of our people. This is Bob Wilson. You recognize these people, right? So we just run some little features about people and add content all the time. Our humanitarian technology stuff, awards that people have won, little videos to the history site here. There's a lot of stuff you can do with your history in your section. Anyway, let me just stop sharing and give you back your life.
All right, sounds good. I didn't forward out that to everybody. I think I just sent it to Bruce, Bill, and you, Kit. I don't know who else needs access to that. As you think of people you want to have access, just let me know and I'll add them for read-write permissions to the
Yeah,
I
think Greg should have access, right? Greg.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I'll add Greg.
And then yeah.
The other area chairs too, probably. Like Sandy and them, or is it only
yeah, of
Bruce
course,
running the
of
show?
course. No, of course, the area chairs, because they have to plan how they're going to inspire their chapters.
Yeah.
Sections. Their sections to get
And
involved.
then they can be the voice of, hey guys, there's only $2,000 left. Go,
Exactly.
figure out what you want to do.
Beat the drum. And that happens every year, right? People run
Yep.
out of money. Yeah. And I think I was new. I had just been, I was helping Mimi, and the next thing I knew, I was Mimi.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, can we make a motion to end the meeting now? What do you think?
Yes, I move we
right.
adjourn.
I second.
Anybody want to second that?
I
Okay.
second.
Actually,
What?
Kit,
Yes.
Oh, one more discussion.
nobody, according to IEEE rule, there's no need to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Oh, see, this is why we have an
If you
historian to make sure we
complete,
don't
yeah,
mess
if you
this up.
complete the agenda, you don't need a motion.
Yeah, you don't
That's
need a
right.
motion.
All right.
But what do you do if somebody
You could
objects?
still have one if you want, though.
No, during the pandemic, we started having meetings regularly just so people could get together and not feel lonely, and have something to talk about with people that they like to talk with, And I've gotten in the habit. I like having meetings like this, and I know everybody else has a life with kids and jobs and whatnot, but to me, it's nice to have an opportunity to get together with all of you. So I appreciate it.
Yep. Nope, sounds good.
Yeah, good evening all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
We'll check to you
Bye.
guys next month.
Bye.
Later.
Next month,
care.
June 2nd, right? What day? What day are we meeting?
That is,
Pressure?
I put it as a repeat in my calendar, so now I can look.
Okay, on the 24th, send in anything you want that's gonna go to Greg for for his executive meeting, right? And then the meeting is June 2nd, is that correct? Am I
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And Lonnie, if you want to talk again, call me, okay?
Yeah, okay, I will. I'll be in touch.
Excellent.
Bye.
Excellent. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Night.
I
Bye.